Hello and welcome back to East Coast Wagering. We're a couple days out from the Belmont Stakes, but the day prior, the Friday card has some fantastic fields as well, including 5 stakes races, all of which are graded, with a Grade 3, 3 Grade 2s, and the Grade 1 New York Stakes. Today I'm going to look at those 5 stakes races, break them down, and give you my picks for each of the races. The first of the stakes races is race 3 on the card. It's the Grade 2 Better Roses going 7 furlongs for filly and mares, 4-year-olds and up. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this race. There's only 4 horses, and I don't see any value really going vertical in this race. I will bet it in my multi-races, but I think that there's a horse that you want to single here, and that's Bella Sophia. She's at Belmont Park, she has 4 wins in 5 attempts, and her other try is a second place effort. Her 2 main rivals are a combined 1 for 9 at Belmont, with obligatory being 0 for 2 and glass ceiling being 1 for 7. Just based on that stat alone, I think that Bella Sophia is probably the standout in this field. She could face a little bit of pace pressure, but I still think she's the best horse in this race. The final 4 races on the card, from race 8 to race 11, are the remaining graded stakes races, and it sets up for a nice all-stakes pick 4 to end the card. Race 8 is the Belmont Gold Cup, going 2 miles on the turf for 4-year-olds and up. We have a field of 8, and 2 of the horses are shipping in from Europe, including my top selection, Outbox, who ran a fairly flat race in his last out, but you can see him here 2 back, where he just barely couldn't hold off the top 2, including Breeders' Cup Turf winner Yabir. One would argue that European turf racing is much stronger than US turf racing, which you can see in the historic Breeders' Cup Turf success. This horse will be forwardly placed, likely right off the pace, which could work in his favor in a race without much speed. Holly Doyle comes along to ride him as his regular rider, and this is her only mount on the card. As a successful European turf jockey, I highly doubt she would make the trip if she wasn't on a potential winner. My second choice in this one is probably the likely pace center in Aban, who you can see here in his last out effort in the Grade 1 Man of War over the Belmont turf, where he didn't have much of an excuse as he finished last of 5 after setting a fairly slow pace in that one. I feel like the speed figures assigned for the previous race, the Grade 2 Pan American, are overstated, as the top 3 horses that day have all come back with significantly lower figures in their next out. However, the field he faced in the Man of War was far stronger than what he will see in this race. He should be on or very close to the lead, and he has demonstrated he can win at the 2-mile distance in his only attempt going that far. And my third selection is the number 6 horse, Cebulian, who you can see here in his last out effort, the Grade 3 Louisville Stakes, where he ultimately finished 4th. In this race, he broke sharply but settled back off the pace setters. Turning for home and throughout the stretch, he seemed to have a ton of run in him, but he couldn't get clear as there was a wall of horses in front of him. I thought this was a much better race from him than it appears on paper. He arguably could have even won had a lane opened up for him early enough in the stretch. With the added distance and the jockey change to Flavian Pratt, I think he moves forward. I'm not sure he can win, but he has been knocking on the door, and I love his chances to get 2nd or 3rd and add some nice value to the trifectas and superfectas. Race 9 is the True North Stakes, going 6.5 furlongs for 4-year-olds and up. And I think that this race starts and ends with Jackie's Warrior. I think he's leaps and bounds better than the rest of this field, and if he runs his best race, the other horses don't really stand a chance. You can see him here in his last out in the Churchill Downs Stakes, winning easily over more accomplished runners than he faces here in the True North. His only loss in his last 6 is in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, where he was inexplicably empty in a race dominated by closers due to the fast pace. The number 1 Mr. Phil could possibly press Jackie's Warrior, but does it really make sense for the 2 of them to get caught in a speed duel to the detriment of both? Also, Jackie's Warrior has proven in the past he can prevail in a pressing role when he caught the speedy Life is Good last year in the H. Allen Jerkins. I made the mistake of trying to get value in the late pick 4 on Derby Day by adding another horse in the race Jackie's Warrior won. Had I singled him, I could have hit the all button in the Derby and caught the 80-1 Rich Strike. I won't make that mistake again. This horse is a single in my multi-race bets. In my vertical bets, I will play the number 4 Baby Yoda and the number 6 Sound Money. Baby Yoda has some nice steadily increasing speed figures, and 3rd race off the layoff could take another step up. Sound Money should be the beneficiary of the typical hot pace that accompanies Jackie's Warrior races, and has the ultra-hot combo of Arad Ortiz for Chad Brown. I see the race as a 3-6-4. The highlight of the card is race 10. It's the Grade 1 New York Stakes, going 1.25 miles on the inner turf for 4-year-olds and up fillies and mares. And Chad Brown sends out 4 of the 7 horses in this race, and likely the top 3 as well. The first of which is my number 1 selection, the number 5 Bleecker Street, who you can see here in her last out effort in the Grade 3 Modesty on Kentucky Oaks Day. In this race, she closed determinedly against a very slow pace to just barely get up that day from last place. She's undefeated in 6 lifetime starts, and the added 1/8 of a mile shouldn't be an issue for her and may actually even suit her better. My main concern is that Flavien Prat appears to have had the choice of either her or the morning line favorite, number 2 Rougier, and he opted to ride the other one. And I typically take into consideration when a jockey chooses one horse over another, but I just think Bleecker Street looks amazing in her last couple races. My second selection is the aforementioned number 2 horse Rougier, who you can see in her last out effort, the Grade 3 Boujee over the Belmont turf. In that race, she made it look easy, winning by 3 lengths in the end, slowly advancing from off the pace and overtaking the second place horse mid-stretch. This was off a 6-month layoff, and one would think she moves forward off that effort. It is questionable how much she beat in that race, and I think this field is a much bigger challenge, but if she does move forward off that last win and gets the jump on Bleecker Street, she could be very difficult to catch. And my third selection, also trained by Chad Brown, is the number 3 Virginia Joy, who you can see here in her last out effort. She beat 3 rivals in the Sheepshead Bay, winning by 14 lengths, geared down late. She faces considerably tougher here, but she should once again control the pace. She has 2 wins and 4 tries at Belmont, but only 1 win in 3 attempts at this distance, and that win was in an optional claimer. I get the sense the cut in distance won't help her, even though she should be on the lead. I see the race all Chad Brown here, 5-2-3. And the final race on the card is race 11. It's the Grade 3 Intercontinental Stakes, going 6 furlongs on the turf for fillies and mares 4-year-olds and up. And I think this is probably the best race on the card from a betting perspective. I see about 8 or 9 horses in this race that probably have a chance at winning it. It might even be the best race on the 2-day card entirely. My number 1 selection is the number 4 horse Toby's Heart, who you can see here in the Unbridled Sydney Stakes, where she closed from off the pace, going 6 wide into the stretch and battled till the wire, winning by a neck. If you look strictly at her turf sprints, she has run fairly consistent, and her best speed figures are at these shorter distances. She seems to be rounding back into nice form, and this is her 3rd race off the layoff, which should have her peaked for a big effort here. The likely pace seems reasonable, so a duplication of her last out effort puts her squarely in the mix. My second selection is the number 1 horse Star Divine, who's stretching from 5.5 to 6 furlongs off her last effort in the Giants Causeway Stakes at Keeneland. I think she could get a similar ride in this race, saving ground along the rail, making a move into the stretch. Her last race was off an 8-month layoff, but she ran well, so the 2-month layoff in this race doesn't concern me at all. Actually, her last race was her best race from a speed figure perspective, which fits against this field, so if she moves forward, she has a big chance at nice morning line odds of 10-1. And my third selection is the number 13 horse, Miss J. McKay. You can see her here in her last out in the license fee at 6 furlongs over this Belmont turf course, where she stalked right off the pace setter and grabbed the lead at the top of the stretch and pulled clear to win by 3 lengths. She likes the distance as she has 2 wins, a 2nd and a 3rd in 5 tries, plus I love that she won over this course in her last race. The outside post does slightly concern me, but I think there's enough speed to keep the field from compacting too much, so she should not get caught too wide. I see the race as a 4-1-13, but this is a leg that you really want to go deep in your multi-races, because as I said before, I see a lot of horses that could win this, including some real long shots. I'd also throw the 3, the 5, the 7, the 9, and the 12 into my multi-race wagers. It's a deep field, and I go deep in my multi-race wagers in this one as well. Here's how I see the remainder of the card playing out, the non-stakes races. In race 1, I like 4-2-1. The number 4 Gasoline could get a real easy lead and just pull away from the rest of this field. But you got to be careful of the number 2 Command Performance, who has a ton of talent and is finally trying to break his maiden. He finished 4th last year in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Race 2, I like 2-7-11. The number 2 Quarry Thunder looked much improved with the trainer switch and the move to the turf. Race 4, I like 4-1-6. The number 4 Ryan's Cat's best efforts have come from off the pace, and this race has a ton of speed in it. Race 5, I like 3-11-7. The number 3 Ready to Venture looks like the cutback in distance will help, and has been close every time since the move from Europe. In race 6, I like 216. The number 2 Yarrow has good figures and has been close. He's going to get the jump on the number 1 Feathers Road, who comes from further back. In race 7, I like 643. The number 6 Speaks for Itself was heavily bet and won easily in her first maiden try. She definitely looks like the one to beat if she runs a similar race to that one. I'm going to try a pick 5, I believe, because I don't think there's a whole lot of value in the pick 4, because I do think there are 2 possible singles here. The way that I see it playing out is the first leg, which is race 7, I would go with the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 6. I'm going to single the 4 in the second leg, single the 3 Jackie's Warrior in the third leg. I'm going to go 3 deep in the fourth leg with the 3 Chad Brown horses, the 2, the 3, and the 5. And as I said, I'm going super deep in the last race. I'm going to go 8 deep. I'm going to go with the 1, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 7, the 9, the 12, and the 13. For a 50-cent pick 5, that total should be $60. Well, that's how I see the Belmont card shaping up on Friday. Hit the comment section and let me know what you think. Are there any horses that you like that I didn't like in my analysis? Do you think someone can actually beat Jackie's Warrior in the sprint race? I appreciate all the comments I got on my prior video on the Belmont contenders. I like seeing some people's opinions. It seems like everybody's either on Rich Strike or completely off him, so it's going to be interesting how that plays out on Saturday. I'm going to be coming out with a video tomorrow on the remainder of the Saturday card, including the Belmont Stakes. So make sure you check that out. Subscribe to my channel if you want to get notifications when I release new videos. This is Jeremy Pillmeyer, and this is East Coast Wagering, and I appreciate you watching my video. I'll see you again soon.